Ty Segall released the best album from May 2025, but the month was loaded with quality. I listened to 114 LPs for my 1,000 albums in a year challenge. Here's what needs to be in your heavy rotation. Ty Segall, Possesion. The hardest working man in garage rock returns just a few months after the Freckle release with his 17th LP under his own name. I won't go as far as calling it a return to form because I can always find something to love in his work. However, his post-pandemic output often felt more wandering and toe-dipping than his celebrated 2014 to 2018 run. During that time, he jumped in quick succession from Fuzz to the Muggers to the Freedom Band. So it makes sense that he would want to embark into the wilderness of projects like a drum album or an earthy acoustic album. This feels like yet another twist on his musical journey, and I am here for it. While his most recent run of albums explored specific themes, this feels more open and expansive. Right from the jump, there's an orchestration and horns. The mature sound draws from all his considerable strengths, and everything flows in such a cohesive and satisfying way. More than any other album in recent memory, this demands multiple spins and stands up to it really well. The nuance and subtlety reveal themselves as more time is spent with tracks. This especially shows up in the vocal performance. While not wildly different from what he's always done, the words and melodies seem to breathe a bit more. There is also a great mix of textures. Crunchy guitars give way to string sections. Vocal harmonies are hidden everywhere. Each song structure builds off the last, and the framework of the album really works as a whole unit. The songs are great on their own, but this really benefits from a start to finish listen. Similar to last month with Billy Strings, huge grains of salt because I'm a massive fan of Segall's as well. Still, there is simply zero chance this doesn't end up as one of the handful of albums that will eternally stay in my heavy rotation. I'm with her, Wild and Clear Blue. I will take any opportunity I'm given to talk about how much I love Sarah Jarosz. Hers is the first voice heard on the lead track, Ancient Light, and her writing voice immediately jumps out. However, it doesn't take long for her bandmates, Aoife O'Donovan and Sarah Watkins, to make their presence known. I imagine anyone this music speaks to already listens or at least knows of their existence, but this deserves a much wider audience. The vocal harmonies alone demand attention. Their voices blend in such a beautiful, beautiful way. The singing stands out, not because they're doing some kind of vocal gymnastics on every phrase, but because they understand restraint. The songs are always at the center of everything they do. Don't get me wrong, playing's exceptional. They just always look to find the perfect little cracks for every single note. Too often, supergroups fall into the novelty trap. The artists in question might be pulling from outtakes or orphaned phrases, and it's easy to slip into throwing disparate ideas together. This avoids all of that. It feels and sounds like a real group. Florry sounds like. This grabbed me from the opening notes, and you have to love a rock band that comes out of the gates with a nearly 7-minute barrage of sloppy rock goodness. The playing slips and slides around the songs in the most endearing way. It almost has a Neil Young vibe, and it just slots into exactly what I'm looking for from an Americana release. Great songs, big hooks and attitude that's as brash as it is authentic. It's not perfect, but any deficiency ends up being additive. The fanboy in me requires Segall and I'm with her to get top billing, but I simply cannot overstate how excited I am to have found this album and artist. If there's one drawback to attempting to listen to such a high volume of releases, it's that I don't get to just put this on repeat until I hate it. I imagine that would take a very, very long time. From greasy, abrasive rock, let's shift to something a bit more delicate. Carriers, Every Time I Feel Afraid. I've known Carriers for a semi-long time. I actually saw them play at a local bar several years ago and was immediately drawn to their sound and level of musicianship. Leader Kurt Kaiser has such a delicate touch with his songcraft that it feels as if it's always existed. While I may be showing some local bias for the Cincinnati Sun, I'm about an hour north of Cincinnati, this absolutely deserves more love from indie music fans. They've opened for the likes of Big Thief, Damian Gerardo, and Band of Horses, and this album features guest spots from members of The National, The War on Drugs, and Beirut. It's a very airy and light touch take on modern rock music. In fact, it feels a bit weird to classify it as rock music at all. Might be a little too artsy for the true mainstream appeal, but if you care about carefully crafted songs that lean a bit more toward the artistic than the bombastic, you could certainly do a lot worse than this album. Sports Team, Boys These Days. Of all the albums in 2025 that I dubbed as purchase worthy, this one probably ranks near the bottom. I think the lead track, I'm in Love, Subaru, starts things off on a weird foot, and I don't think there's a metaphor there. They're just singing about their car or singing about a car. It may not even be their car. There is an 80s vibe to it that rarely works on me, but it really holds up as an album. I think the songs are fine, but they all work best together. They are one of the few English acts in recent memory for me that breaks out of the mediocrity bubble which that country's music scene has been mired. Maybe it's the oddity when compared to the music that typically finds its way to my ears, but it's a fun listen that doesn't take itself too seriously. And that's an underrated accomplishment in modern music, because it's easy to feel like we are in the end times and every statement needs to be some grand declaration. A lyric like, "Are we moving? Moving together? Are we just waiting time? Doing all right?" really spoke to me. Time for a quick speed round. The Billy Woods album generated rave reviews. Listen to anyone else when it comes to hip hop. Never seek or listen to my opinion on hip hop. Maddie and Tay, Love and Light, qualifies as the rare female entry into corn dog country. There's a song called Only Jesus and another called Drunk Girls in the Bathroom. The video for the latter looks like an SNL sketch. I know there's an audience for this. I don't care. This is why it's hard to argue with people who say that they hate modern country. Quinn, For Folk, Mind Me. If I understand the audience for Maddie and Tay, I don't understand who listens to this hyper traditional stuff voluntarily. This feels like the soundtrack for a dour PBS documentary about the potato famine. I also want to point out that I listened to albums by Chuck D, Snoop Dogg, and Exhibit in 2025. I did that. So that is May. Here are the final numbers for the month. Solid red, 1. Yellow turning red, 6. Solid yellow, 75. Green turning yellow, 27. Solid green, 5, for a grand total of 114 albums listened to this month. Now for our yearly breakdown, solid red, 5. Yellow turning red, 30. Solid yellow, 233. Green turning yellow, 90. Solid green, 14, for a grand total of 372 releases. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Until next time, find some great music and play it loud.